Yay, I promised not to touch it.
Cheated.
See, if it doesn't have a command line, I'm lost. All this GUI stuff still throws me. All right, we ready to start this rolling?
Ready when you are.
Okay. Hi, folks. Welcome to the first session. This is Applied Learning Using Online Resources in the Classroom. My name is Tom Sweda. I'll be the facilitator today. We have two presenters. Our first is Glenn Mitchell, who works for... I know.
No.
I'll introduce you first.
Sorry.
We're not married, you know. Glenn works for Extreme Networks, who have a booth out here. So if you want to find him after, you can go out and see him there. He's got over 30 years of experience working with education, K through 12, higher ed. He's worked with everything from blended learning, new initiatives in the classroom, improving functionality of a network. So it's pretty much from start to finish, he's been involved with networkings in the educational system. Our second presenter is Jill Buban, who is the Assistant Provost for Research and Innovation at Post University, right here in Waterbury. And Jill is responsible for all of the university-wide initiatives regarding technology and the classroom, for both students and for faculty. She is also working with adult learners in online environments. So we have a nice contrast of the presentations today, and we're going to start with Jill. The format is going to be very simply, the presenter will have about 15 or 20 minutes, then we'll have time for questions, and then Glenn will come up, do his presentation, and we'll have questions for Glenn after that. So without further ado, I will turn things over to Dr. Buban.
Good morning, everyone. I was just introduced, Dr. Jill Buban from Post University. And I work a lot with digital resources at the institution and any new innovations and technology that we're trying to infuse in our classes. We have 800 main campus students and nearly 17,000 online students. We also, I also oversee our post-university online virtual high school. So a lot of these resources are filtering down to the high school age student. How many of you, are you all K-12? Everyone, can I see it? Yeah, everybody? Anyone not K-12? Oh, great.
We're also both, yeah.
You're both.
We have adult
Okay.
learners.
Yeah. All right, we're all walking the line here. How many of you are using, let's say, open digital resources with your students? Great. And what age group are you?
7-12, grade 7-12.
7 to 12. And the rest of you, I'm just assuming, are looking for information about trying to do that, or maybe infusing some of them. Okay, great. So this is kind of a primer into that, and then I'll have my card, and I'll be here at the end if anyone wants to talk or see about ways I could maybe help you afterwards about doing some things at your school or institution. I'd be happy to talk with you. So just a brief overview of what I'll be talking about, kind of how do you want to start thinking about using these resources? What could be a plan that's really either small for a classroom, just your classroom, or maybe your department, your group of classrooms. You know, if you're in elementary school and you're working a team of third grade teachers, how can you do that? Or if you're looking for school-wide or district-wide. There's that spectrum that we're talking about, using a spectrum of materials. Again, whether it's that classroom and grade specific or all the way up through the entire school. And then I want to share with you a brief case study, very brief because we only have about 15 minutes, of what we did, or really what I've implemented over the past year at Post. Welcome everybody. We just got started. And talking about the need for community. So again, whether it's your school, your team you're working with, that community that helps build and drive an initiative and trying to implement the use of these types of resources, both digital and open resources. And lastly, shiny new objects, but I'll leave that for the end. It's kind of my teaser for you guys. So, goals. What is your strategy? This may be a little elementary, but really thinking back, like I mentioned, I implemented this project at Post a year ago to move all of our courses to digital resources. We have 450 courses, and we're at 200 that have transitioned in a year. And I think that if we didn't have a strategy for how to use these open resources, I'll say open and digital, so open, library resources that you can access digitally, ebooks, all the various different digital resources. We could be talking video, we could talk simulation. So without a strategy for how you're going to use them in your specific environment, there's so much out there. And you know, there's people that you'll be working with that'll say, well, why do you want to use these? Why are you picking these? So the strategy is really important. Think really narrow and how is this going to benefit my learner and the people in my either higher ed institution or school. And then defining those digital resources. What does it mean for you? Do you want your students to be using open resources? Do they have access to these in their classroom? How are you going to narrow it down so they're the resources they should use? You know, YouTube's a great example. There's perfect videos out there, but do you want your 6th graders just going to YouTube? Do you create your own channel and then bring it into your systems at the school? How many of you have a learning management system at your school? You do. Okay. So how do in the K-12 classrooms, how are students going online in the classroom, or is that predominantly through their tech class?
We're one-to-one.
You're one-to-one? Okay. Anybody else?
They go on mostly in their tech class.
Mostly in their tech class. So resources in the classroom would be limited to the teacher bringing them up on a whiteboard, or?
They do have laptops that they can bring in.
Oh, they do? Okay.
Or we're going towards bring your own device, but we're not there yet, so.
Does anyone else have a BYOD initiative in the school? You do. So students can log in. Do they have to log into a system at the school first, or are they just going directly to the space of internet?
You get a pre-shared key and then you filter it through IMOS.
So you can control that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Because that would be, even before that, it's really like talking with your tech team and knowing they know what they're doing and setting up that secure environment for your students. I guess that's a little more important in the K-12, but in higher ed as well. You want to help them become more independent and directed in finding their resources, but you've got to guide them as well. We all know there's so much out there. So in terms of thinking about this, again, it's planning. We're planning for the use of these materials. What are some reachable goals? Like just saying I'm going to get resources for every single subject I teach and we're going to go all digital and I can supplement every class probably isn't realistic. Pilot it with a class. Pilot it, I would say K-12, partner with someone that's kind of excited about this idea and the two of you can work together, or 2 or 3 people. At the higher ed level, I think it's the buy-in, picking a department or 2 that really have buy-in into going digital. Or I don't know if anyone is in the Connecticut state system. I know you may be asked to be going digital very shortly from the legislation that came out this week. Are you from the state system? Or no? Okay. You are?
Oh, no, I'm a staff person with the DOIT West.
Okay. Yeah, was legislation, it hasn't passed through though, that the House of Reps is going to be asking the entire state university system to be looking at using digital resources to decrease the costs for students. So a lot of people are going to be moving in that direction shortly. But at any rate, reachable goals. So we can't just, whatever our size is, it's how do we start this small, test it, know what we're doing, and then continue to bring our colleagues in. So like I was saying before, this is kind of, when I was talking about the spectrum, this is really what you're looking at in terms of resources. If you have a class, you're looking at class, department, school, district. One class, one subject, one unit could be, you're looking for 10, 15 resources. But if you're looking department-wide, school-wide, district-wide, it's exponentially getting larger and larger, and then you're trying to control these resources, track these resources. And I only have about 15 minutes, so again, if anyone wants to talk about some of the specifics of this, I'd be happy to at a later time. So it's just thinking what's manageable, starting small, and then figuring out what works for you. So I wanted to share with you a case study about my experience in doing this. Like I mentioned, we started this initiative exactly 1 year ago because of the soaring cost of books. We noticed our students weren't buying books, they didn't have them on the first day of class. Not having them on the first day of class meant they were not starting their studies right away. And our faculty were frustrated because they couldn't really hold students accountable. Our freshmen in the classrooms and seats, it was hard to hold them accountable for their work when they didn't have their materials. With our online learners, we have an accelerated, our courses are accelerated, so they're 8 weeks. If a student gets it in the second week, they're already so far behind. So that was really the impetus of starting this initiative, both saving money for the students and that instant access to their learning by having open digital resources in their courses. So that goal was to transition 475 courses from textbooks to digital resource collections. Publishers really aren't happy with me, but we do use some of their ebooks. And like I said, we're just over 40% of that now. So we're at 199. So I'm really happy about that. But it's taken, that first slide that I talked about, that strategy is so important because if we don't have that base layer, just kind of, it falls apart. There are teachers or faculty that won't want to go in this direction, administrators that don't have buy-in, and having a really solid understanding of your vision for this and then planning for your department or school's vision for this is so important because even a year later, just yesterday I had a big discussion over what types of resources faculty should be using and why they should be using them, and it's constant buy-in, it's constant building a community around this idea. And that buy-in includes everyone. I put on campus just because I am from higher ed, but even, in the K-12, you'll be surprised how quickly all of these departments need to be involved. So IT is so important for support. Obviously the library, if the librarians are behind it, they can be so useful in helping you with these initiatives. At higher ed level, there's student finance, there's financial aid, there's administration, student advising for communication. So it really is across the institution at that level. So knowing who those people are and getting them on board and helping you behind that strategy to implement the use of these in your classrooms. Like I said, the communication is really, really imperative, and being clear on what you want to do. And then again, building buy-in, allies, and how is this valuable for your peers? Why do they want to do this? Why do they want to learn one more thing and figure out how to search for these resources? How can you make searching easier for them? We have a digital resource specialist that helps our faculty. So he's a librarian, but he helps them find some resources that they can use and check copyright. So what are some ways that you can increase that value add and the buy-in for your teachers or faculty? Oops, where did I go back there? So I wanted to show you something, the most important thing that I think I've learned over the past year about these resources, trying to find them and organize them and not just go off and say, oh, I got 10, I put them in my class, and then the link breaks and you have no idea where to get another one, and how do you have a tracking system? So again, about a year ago when I instituted this initiative, I created just a simple shell in Blackboard. It's actually a community in Blackboard. Does anyone, a lot of you don't have learning management systems, but the higher ed, do you use Blackboard? Yes, or something. So this is easy to create. If someone from instructional design, or if you know how to use Blackboard, it's easy. K-12, you can do this on WordPress. You could just do a blog on this. It's just really you need some place as a repository and a way that this community that you're going to be working with around digital resources can look and see what you're doing, understand the explanations, understand your strategy, and find the resources. So you guys, I'll just take you through this quickly. But you can see, we call the digital resources electronic course materials at the institution. We also allow instructors to develop their own materials, case studies, articles, books. We have one person working on a book, so we help them publish it, and then we pay them to write that book and use it in the classes. So that's a whole nother presentation, but there's a lot of ways to start using different resources in the class. So, you know, right here on the front, this was just something I explained where you can find them. Where are your different resources? What does it mean? You can see our library databases are right up there.
We're not seeing that.
Oh. I wonder why not.
I didn't do it.
Why wouldn't it show up? Oh no, this was so exciting for you guys. I don't know, do we know why it's not
Is
showing?
it behind your PowerPoint? Is it behind your PowerPoint?
What? Sorry.
Is it blank on your laptop screen too?
No.
Oh.
If you go out of presentation mode, you can just put it into regular, like you're editing it, and then we'll be able to see what you see.
Oh.
You guys still can't see it.
So your mouse moving.
Do you have, if you have an idea, that'd be great. I'm so
I'll try.
sorry, I don't know.
Are you doing it through the browser then, not the PowerPoint?
Right, so it doesn't make sense. That's not mine, that's not yours. No,
Okay.
I just shut all mine out.
So where's yours? This is yours right here?
No, this is the internet.
Yes, but where's the?
I just shut mine right here.
It's
You want
it's
this?
a presentation file, or a folder.
No, this is,
It's in a browser,
yeah.
but we'll just, instead of extending I think we're extending the display, so I think we're just.
Oh, it's the display setting on the computer.
That's extending it, so it's just.
Here you go. See, you guys know more than So anyway, this is, I'm glad you said that nothing was on the screen, because that would have been really boring for you to sit and look at a blank slide. So again, this is the shell. Like I said, you could do this in WordPress, you could do it locally hosted. You can. This is easy. I just did it in Blackboard because we have 600 associate faculty and 100 faculty that need to access this. So when they're in there, they can go. So, you know, what is it? Our community around what we use and what we call digital resources, so people can easily see that.
Do
And then
the students have access to this as well?
students do not have access to this right now, but it could be something it could be something in the future. But right now we're doing it to build the courses.
Gotcha.
For faculty, and then easily put in something. Just how do you find digital resources? So this is just some information for us on how do you develop a course with those resources. But then we have like our Troy library materials, open access, which I think a lot of people here might be interested in. I went through and vetted, that's my timer, I'm supposed to stop talking to you. Vetted a lot of different open resources and put the ones that I knew we could use according to copyright laws and that were good for our population, were easy to look through. There are some that are so massive that to find anything, it's just like going down a rabbit hole. So these were all that I have vetted and made sure we could use. Merlot, has anybody used Merlot? Oh, you've got to go to Merlot. Merlot's awesome. It's the California University system. It's like this fabulous, they even have a place you can like put in an ISBN of a textbook and see if there's an open one that matches that ISBN. It's like, it's awesome. OpenStax, is anybody using OpenStax textbooks? OpenStax, go to OpenStax. They're like nationally renowned faculty that make these textbooks, and they do have some K-12 resources. They're fabulous, fabulous books. We use a few of them. We use biology, sociology, looking at some math. So you can see, and if anybody, I can give you my card if anyone wanted this list to look at. Orange Grove for K-12 is a great one for K-12. It's fairly vast, but once you know how to narrow down your search terms, you're good. So, and then the last, I know we need to transition over, the last thing I wanted to share with you, which was on my PowerPoint, was the shiny new things. So since this started, and people have started figuring out what I do with this project, I probably get 2 to 3 emails a day from different ed tech vendors wanting me to use their product. So what I'd like to say is there's so much out there, and have a plan, just like with your strategy for using open and digital resources, have a plan for vetting these shiny new objects, because some are startups, some are fabulous but might not work in your environment, but there are so many out there, and a lot of them look great and they might work for you, but you have a lot of options. If it's analytics you want, simulations that you want, somebody that's going to help your students read through their open resources, take notes in their open resources, there's half a dozen companies that will be doing those same things. So just do your research, don't feel pressured to use all of these companies. A lot of this you can do on your own. So, but I know my time is up, so I am going to leave, and I'd love to talk to anyone afterwards.
A couple minutes for questions.
Questions? Any questions?
Are your resource lists available somewhere?
Yeah, I could give that to you. If you want to give me your card, or I can give you my card and I can email it out to you. I'd be happy to share that with everyone.
So you said you work with adult learners. What ages? Is it college, mostly just college age, or?
Yeah, our traditional campus at Post is 18 to 24, I'll say. Our average age of our online learner is 36 years old. And that spans all of my doctorate and research is on online learning with adults.
I was just wondering, have you encountered any pushback from the older adults going completely digital?
Actually, no. And
really?
I do, something that's really important, again, I'd love to talk more to you guys, is getting the feedback. We have student surveys. K-12 is a little tricky, maybe you want parent feedback, but in the higher ed, in our student surveys, I have 2 questions. The online learners have adapted so quickly to this. I had a couple students, I had one gentleman who said he was 70 years old, and he said this is so much easier than having to worry about ordering books. So I think they really just like that. It's all set up in the class. It's ready for them to go. There's no worry about getting their books on time, ordering the right edition, so on and so forth.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but I'd say I've had the least pushback from being told.
Well, they're native online anyway, so
I know.
So that
Yeah.
makes it a little bit different. And then, have you had any issue breaking the habits of like, oh, I'm just going to go to Google and find this information? Because I know you're using it as course resources, but in the context of like research, things like that, using it in the classroom, how have you kind of broken those bad habits of students?
In the classroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had a conversation. One of our English professors actually has bad examples in her resources, like about.com,
right.
Because our governance committee was like, what are you doing? This is a terrible resource. So she's building things in to combat that and showing like, if you do a search, you're getting all this
right.
crap. but this is how, you know, you should be going to the library, and how do you search, and how do you narrow that down. This is why we selected, you know, peer-reviewed journals and peer-reviewed
Right.
open. A lot of people don't think open has peer review, or, you know, there's so much out there that is, you know, open's a social movement that people believe. A lot of people in that movement want everyone to be educated, so there's fabulous stuff out there. So it's really, I think
Right.
it's a teaching moment to use these
Yeah.
resources. Right. Go ahead.
How are you handling the copyright issue? I know you say you have someone, but do the instructors or the professors have a way to vet their own materials for copyright? Is there an easy?
Yeah.
My teachers are using a lot of material the way they shouldn't be using it, and so is there an easy way I can
I have a
check their
tutorial. I really brought it down to the most simplistic terms I could on Creative Commons, so that they understand Creative Commons licensing. If you don't know about Creative Commons, look into that. I also, there are some great like the College of William and Mary has a toolbar you can check copyright on, so sometimes I send them to places like that. But a lot of times they want to rely on our resources and just would like to verify that they can use it through a librarian. And that's fine, that's not their, really, it's not their expertise area, so there's a nervousness about that. But I'd say Creative Commons, and then you can check the College of William and Mary site, and you may be able to use that.
All right, thank you, Jill.
Thanks,
We have to
everyone.
move on.
Will you be here, Jill, later?
Yeah, I'm gonna sit right, I'll be right here.
And while they're setting up, I'd just like to emphasize, so much of this really has to do with librarians. They are a great source of helping students learn how to find the right information. There are still hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of students out there who think that Wikipedia is an authoritative source to go to. They need help learning how to wade through all the information. And librarians are great for that. All right, I'm going to turn things over to Glenn Mitchell.
Hi, everybody. Good morning, and thanks for staying so far. Whoops, no.
Sorry.
Just kidding. Obviously, you know, Jill's talking about content building, applications, and the ability to, how am I going to drive content in my K-12 and my higher ed. I'm switching it a little bit now and talking about applications on your network and maybe understanding what applications and how much content is really hitting on my network and in my school, and how do I manage that, and what do I care, and are there ways I can be using that data to understand what the kids are using, what applications are my kids really looking at on an ongoing basis in the classroom. You know, we talk about BYOD, and we talk about one-to-one, and we talk to a lot of superintendents and that, and they say, yep, you know, we're doing BYOD. And I go, great, for what? You know, so kids can get on Facebook during lunch, you know, what's your reasoning for wanting to do this? And you'd be shocked how many times they just stare at me and go, I don't know, and that. So BYOD is a predecessor to what? The ability to get to content and the ability to get to applications on your network or in the cloud or on the internet or whatever. So what we now have is, as network administrators and network people say, well, I need to know what users are on my network, I need to know what devices are on my network. Well, what's the next big thing they need to know? What applications are on my network? And if I know what applications are on my network, what could that mean? What kind of decisions, what kind of insights could I get as a superintendent all the way down to the network manager on what's happening on my network? So, all right, so a couple did you knows. So IDC, you know, and Jill's perfect talking about what's going on here. IDC reports that 50 times more data will be sitting on your network in the next 6 years. And that you're going to have to manage as an IT staff, as an administration, as a district, as an institution. 50, not 5, 50. 50 times more data is going to be on your network. Where's a lot of it coming from? Digital content kinds of stuff, right? The ebooks, digital content, and that from where we're looking at. EDU applications are the second most category behind songs downloaded from iTunes. Yeah, so think about that. I mean, that's why people go get the iPads. That's why school districts, because there's so many educational applications that can be used in that classroom experience from K all the way through 20, right? You know, K 20 in that. And so, you know, it's not, that's why iPads are used, you know, and that's why Google. I mean, Google's got all theirs, Microsoft's got their applications, but, you know, and you have, that's the second most, that's something to be talked about there. Less than 3%, and I don't know how many of you are IT here, and I say less than 3%, I bet you it's almost 0%, know what applications are being accessed on their network on an ongoing basis. If I could say, tell me all the applications that are sitting on your network that are being used right now, you know, they're reporting less than 3%. This is what a survey done. They said, I don't know. And that.
K-12 or?
Yeah, K-20. K-20, I bet you it's closer to 0 to really understand what applications. So, from a K-12 perspective, that's a challenge because of simple compliance. All right, you need to know what's going on your network. Obviously, you got the iBosses, you got the light speeds and that for web filtering, but what's going on in the internal network? What happens when teachers bring in their own little disk and they put the stuff on their systems that didn't tell IT about and that? Who knows about that, right? So these are the kinds of things that you need to start grappling with. Another study just came out that said that top 4, this was a higher ed deal, CIOs. Name your top 4 priorities or things that concern you in that. 55% of the IT directors said one of their top 4 concerns is running out of bandwidth. They think they're going to run out of bandwidth and they don't know what to do about it because they don't know what applications are hitting it that are causing the problems. And then another 32% of the IT people said that one of their top 4 concerns is this whole concept of shadow IT. Who's putting their own stuff out there that I don't even know about, and now I've got PCI, HIPAA, and CIPA compliance issues with. So these are the kinds of things that people need to be thinking about, are thinking about. Some more stuff on what's going on with strategic issues. I talked about that one, how much we're spending. Gartner talks about mobility, big data applications, right? Digital assessments, and that as the big strategic initiatives for CIOs, EDUCAUSE. What do they all talk about? They're talking about technology in the classroom, and the ability to strategically think about that and talk about it. So, those are the issues. So imagine, what if you had the ability, and I'm not just talking network administrators, but as an overall institution, full and deep, we call it layer 7 visibility, application visibility across your entire network, both out in the cloud, what applications are being accessed out in the cloud, on the internet, from people in your school district, and internally in your network. And I'm able to connect that application usage with an individual user, device, location, and time of day. So I'm saying, and I'm not just saying, oh, they're on Google, and here's the MAC address and user ID and time of day and location. No, I'm on Google Maps. I'm on iTunes, or I'm on Netflix. Here's the video I'm watching, and that. So what if you were able to connect that is the application that's going through with user, device, location, time of day, and now I'm able to store a database with it. So I just keep throwing records out there of what's going on throughout my network. And then the ability to separate performance data between my network, server, and application. So when there's a problem, it's always a network problem, right? I mean, if you're in the IT world, network's slow, it's got to be a network problem in that. Well, now you've got the ability to quickly, the ability to say, is it a network problem? Is it a server problem? Is it an application problem? And you'd be surprised how often it's an application problem and it's not a network problem. So if you have all this stuff, if you're able to do this, if you're able to think this way as an administration, here are some of the things that could be happening for you. Here's some of the things you could be looking at. You look at 4 different categories. This is a technical one here. See, number 1, you optimize your network management. So who are my bandwidth hungry applications? Those are the critical applications, my LMS system, right? Maybe my digital content retrieval system. What systems, what applications are critical in my organization, and I need to make sure they're up and running and they're always at high performance. One of the things we've done is we've told all the teachers in the world, we're going to flipped classrooms, we're going to technology in the classroom, we're going to these blended models, and live it and love it. All right, and you got teachers saying, okay, I'm in, I'm going to play the game with you, but needs better work. And when I'm not, you know, I better be teaching for that 15 minutes a day and not trying to run IT because my technology's not working in the classroom. So when you have tools, when you know what are the applications that are coming, now I can start optimizing my bandwidth. I can start optimizing resources to make sure those classes get what they need. My STEM classes, or well now what STEAM classes they call them now, right? You know, the STEAM classes, they probably need more resources. My special needs classes, they do a lot with gaming and that, you know, for hand-eye coordination and that. So now you say, during, you know, from 10 to 11 for this special needs class, I need to make sure I put more bandwidth into that class so that I have an optimized experience for those users. Streamlines troubleshooting. Again, if I know it's a network problem versus server problem, or an application problem, I know where to start. I know where to start looking in that as opposed to guessing. So as a network person, you know, again, I'm driving a better user experience because I can get the right fix faster. Better IT planning. I can do capacity planning now. When I go to the school board and say, we're at you know, we're at 100 meg that we have for our bandwidth out to the internet. I need 200 meg. Why? I don't know. It just seems right. You know, it's slow. Now you have reports that you can show if you have this kind of information that says, here's my bandwidth, looks like on a daily basis, hourly basis, this is where I'm getting killed, these are the kind of applications that are doing it, we're saying these applications are critical to our institution, I need it. School boards then, they look at you a little differently and say, all right, let's keep going. And then quality of service, which I talked about a little bit there, around application quality of service, making sure your key apps are up and running. Business, from a business perspective. So I go out and buy 100 licenses of Blackboard. And so I'm looking, if I have this kind of application, I know what applications are on my network, only 50 are being used. Why? Did I buy too many? So when it's renewal for next year, I maybe only buy 60 on the renewal? Or did I have a training problem in that? Is there one building where Blackboard's not being used because nobody knows how to use it? So is it an opportunity to go in and talk to that principal and say, what's going on here? Do we need to do some training on that? Doesn't provide the answer, but provides insights, right, in that. So here you go, training, licensing, and then again, network expansion, planning, and audit tools. Knowing what's going on with my network, I know what's going on with devices, I know what's going on with users are on it. Now if I know what applications are going on it, I can better plan for my network from a business perspective. Starting to get my treasurers and my CFOs looking from a business, not just an educational perspective. Security, yeah, number one priority of all CIOs in schools is security. So now, if I know all the applications, I understand where my shadow IT is. Where's my unapproved applications? Where's the applications that teachers, you know, I mean, they do it. They find something cool, say, let's go do it, and nobody else knows about it. We don't know if it's good, bad, whatever. IT doesn't know about it. They don't know what's happening with it. I don't have visibility. Say, go talk to them. Say, did you pay for this? You know, are we in subscription here? Or, you know, we have licensing problems in that. And if it's critical, let's go talk to all the other 5th grade teachers out in other buildings and make sure they're using it. Yeah. Security compliance, you know, CIPA compliance, PCI compliance, HIPAA compliance, all about applications, right? You know, big piece of it is what are unapproved applications on my network that I need to be able to track easily in them. Detect malicious applications. And here's another one, cyberbullying visibility. Yik Yak, right? The old Yik Yak app, where it's anonymous in that. Well, we actually had this application running in a school in California. Kids were cyberbullying, using Yik Yak during the deal. Figured they're safe because it's anonymous. The problem was, we could apply a MAC address to the Yik Yak application. That kid was shocked when we found out. He found out, because we could sort of say, here's when the post went out, you know, so we sort of had a time of day, very quickly be able to get to this kid and say, what's going on, we need to talk. And that's real stuff, you know, because we're fighting this one right now, the whole cyberbullying, and, you know, and how do we control it, and you say visibility into it, all right? And then the last one, which is even the more fun one, is student analytics. So this is where principals, superintendents, curriculum directors, teachers, you can stay, okay, everything we just talked about is sort of a network, but now let's talk about what's going on in the classroom. Let's talk about what's going on with the technology in the classroom in that. Is it working? We're putting all this investment into it. Does it work? Right? And so how do we judge if it's working? Better outcomes, right? Graduation rates, grades, test scores, absenteeism. It's usually how you're gonna measure this kinds of stuff. So let's look at what we're doing in the classroom, and let's look at different ways we can be looking at what is going on with application usage. So as an example, if I have my top 10% of my students, you know, I just go to the student information system, grab everybody 3.50 above, I get a list of names there, and I can go look at how they use the applications during the day. Here's the applications they're on, this is the amount of time, they're on the LMS system, they're doing this, they're doing this, they're doing this, they're doing this. What's my bottom 10% doing? And I go look for that, and I could go look now, while they engage with the applications on an ongoing basis. I've got some one-on-one coaching opportunities now, mentoring I could do with Johnny. Say, Johnny, you're on Facebook all day, no wonder you're getting these in that. Maybe we should look at these kind of applications that you could be on. Same concept. I can take 2 5th grade classes. One's a traditional class, one's very heavily in a flipped learning model, blended, whatever you want to call it, sideways, everything, it's all called it. Am I seeing different results out of those classes than that? And what does that mean? You know, is it because of the application usage, because of the interplay with the applications and that, or is there other reasons? Doesn't give you all the answers, but it gives you stuff to talk about. And then again, you can then profile users or groups for coaching and mentoring. So now you've got a tool for your administration to look at where applications are being used successfully in our district, and so how can we now drive that out, you know, across other parts of the district, enhance on it to drive stuff. And then it also then allows me to say, again, go into my school board, look at what we're doing with technology in the classroom. These are the applications we're accessing through it, and these are the kinds of outcomes we're getting. Or it's not working. And why is it not working? Yeah. You know, I'm not saying just because you have BYLD and you do a flipped learning model, everything just starts working again. But it's tools, and it's the way of thinking now as administration about the importance of understanding application usage in your school and your institution. Yeah. So we're seeing this. We have a tool. Come out to our booth if you want to see that does all this. Okay. Been very successful in doing it. It's shocking when people put this tool on their network, how fast they find some crazy stuff that's happening on their network that they never knew about. Right now. I'm talking within minutes. Right now. You know, I'll give one example, and then we have park testing in Ohio. I don't know if you have it in Connecticut, you know, the online testing. And so they had a test, you know, to test before the test, right? The infrastructure test to see if it was going to work. And it was slow. It was real slow. And so the school district, you know, they called up Pearson. You know, Pearson runs the park piece. There's something wrong with your application. They go, no, it's a network problem. Your problem, it's your network problem. They threw this tool on, and it immediately showed the application response time, which was horrendous versus the network response time. Sent that report over to Pearson, and Pearson said, our bad, we will have a fix within 24 hours. It's real information, it's real data now. It's not finger pointing, you know, from that standpoint. Now that's a networking perspective, and that's why the IT people love it. But we are seeing more and more, the superintendents are the ones that are looking for this kind of stuff. You know, it's priority. They want your IT team to be more strategic. They want big data. They want to be able to look at data different ways to drive outcomes. And that's what we do. And that's, you know, this is an area that, you know, we do a lot with schools, and we're going to continue to do that. And that's it. That's it. Questions? Comments?
I think you answered my question, but you mentioned apps and BYOD, but I'm assuming it's not just apps on a device. It
No.
could be library usage, it could be whatever you
Any
have on your
application
infrastructure.
that they're hitting off your network,
Okay.
regardless of the device. So it could be a school-owned device, right? So it could be a PC, you know, that's on the school network. or a personal device, you know,
Well,
or
the
something like.
applications are not apps as we think of on a device, they're
No,
any
any apps,
application on the
yeah.
internet. Okay.
Right,
Voice app, voice phone.
yeah, yeah, any app.
Library access,
Yes.
anything?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted
Yeah,
to
into the
clarify.
internet, the cloud, internal network, it don't matter. It's finding it all. Yeah, the application, we have, what, 17,000 fingerprints? So those are 17,000 application fingerprints that we, you know, that are known application IDs that that as we run our application, it hits against that database, matches it, and away you go. So this ain't like there's 10 apps out there. There's 17,000 apps that we're monitoring against. And if there's an application we don't, it takes about 10 minutes to create a new fingerprint for that new application. Questions? Any more comments? All right.
No, thank you, Glenn.
Thank you.
Again, folks, Glenn can be found outside. Jill, you'll be here a couple minutes after if anybody wants to drop off cards. And we have about 10 minutes before the next session starts. So if you've got any other questions, please come on up. And thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day.